video, we're going to migrate to the Postgres database for our e-commerce app with Django and Python. Hey guys, John Alder here from codemy.com, and up until now, we've been using the SQLite 3 database that comes with Django and Python for our e-commerce app. Now, that's great for development purposes, lets you get everything up and running and sort it out the way you want it, but for actual production, pushing all this up online, it absolutely will not work. You need a more professional database, and we're going to use the Postgres database. Now, Postgres is pretty much the most popular database in use. It's really the one you want to use, and so that's what we're going to do. So in this video, we're going to reconfigure our app to work with Postgres. We're also going to set up a Postgres database up in the cloud. We're going to use a service called Railway. There's a totally free version you can use, and there's like a super cheap $5 a month plan as well. So that's cool. A lot of people like to use something like AWS, but I find it to be super complicated, too expensive, and just too much of a hassle. I prefer to use Railway for just about everything these days as opposed to AWS, and you'll see why in this video. So let's head over to our code. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor and the Git Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this series, so check that out if you haven't so far. So what we need to do is head over to our Settings.py file, and that's just going to be in our basic ecom directory. We haven't looked at this thing in quite a while. And let's scroll down to databases. And here's where our current database stuff is listed. So I'm going to copy this and paste it again. And then I'm just going to comment this out so that, at least it's still sort of there in case you want to reference it. But we need to get rid of this and change this. So here we see SQLite 3. This is the database we've been using. This comes with Django and Python. We just want to change this to PostgreSQL. So Postgres and then SQL, PostgreSQL. All right, so we're going to be using the Postgres database. Now, we need several other things here. We need a name. We need a user. We need a password. And these are key value pairs you see. Like here's the key and here's the value. I just haven't added the value in. We'll do that in just a second. Let's see, what else do we need? We need a host and we need a port number. There we go. And we'll fill these in a second. Now, these are all going to come from whatever service you're using to handle your Postgres stuff. We're going to be using Railway. We'll look at that in just a second. But before we do that, we need to sort of pip install Postgres. And this is a little tricky. Let's head over to our terminal, Control-C to break out of it. I'm in my C/ecom/ecom directory. My virtual environment is turned on. So what we need to do here is pip install. And I'm going to install Psycopg2. Now, here's the deal. Psycopg2 is either deprecated or about to be deprecated. So the Django gods have determined that from now on, they're just going to use Psycopg, right? Not Psycopg2. The problem is, ever since they've announced this not too long ago, every time I've tried to use just Psycopg, I get errors. So I don't know. I'm going to use Psycopg2. It still works. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. They're just not supporting it into the future. And until Psycopg gets whatever bugs are worked out of it and works, I'm going to continue to use this. So you might just try pip installing Psycopg and then going through the next few steps that we're going to do in this video. If you don't get any errors, that's great. Use that. If you do get an error, come back here and pip uninstall Psycopg. Once that uninstalls, then pip install Psycopg2. I've already tried Psycopg many times on this computer recently. It doesn't work for me, so I'm just going to do pip install Psycopg2. And Psycopg is PostgreSQL 2, right? So now we can pip freeze if we want and see, oops, I misspelled freeze, pip freeze. There we go. And we have Psycopg. This will allow us to do Postgres stuff. Now, this is sort of a moot point. We may not even actually need this because we're going to be running this in the cloud. So I don't know. You should do it anyway. I think we actually do need it. So anyway, come back down here. Now we need to fill out this stuff. So in order to do that, head over to railway.app. There we go. Sign up for an account. You can sign up for a free account and they'll give you $5 in credit, and that will last as long as it lasts. I've been playing around with this for the last few days, and I've used like 20 cents of it or something. So, it's fine. They have a $5 hobby plan, $5 a month, and a $20 like pro plan. So even like the pro stuff is pretty cheap, $20 a month. If you're serious about building a website for like your business, $20 a month is nothing for web hosting, right? But for our purposes, I'm just going to use the free version here. And I'm going to log in. I've got some other things running here. So what we want to do is come down here and click on New Project. Now, after you log in and all that, you can see I still got $4.83 of my trial, and I've been playing with this for like a week. So, okay, New Project, and we want to come down here and deploy PostgreSQL. Now, I should mention a couple of things here. One, we're eventually going to push our whole app up to Railway. But right now, we're going to keep it local and just do the database, and then we'll connect the two in a future video. The other thing I should mention is everything in your current database is going to be gone, right? It's all in the SQLite 3 database, and we're not going to migrate that stuff over. You're going to have to do that manually. There's probably some way to automatically take your database stuff from the SQL and automatically port it into a Postgres. You can Google it if you want. This is just sort of dummy stuff, so I don't care. We're going to lose all of our users. We've only got a couple of users anyway, so who cares? This is all just development stuff. But we're also going to lose like all of these pictures that we added to the database. We'll have to re-add those to the new Postgres database. No big deal. It takes me 5 minutes to do that. But just keep that in mind. Now, the stuff that was in the old SQLite 3 database, we're not deleting that. It's still there. And if you want to reconnect to that anytime you want, you can. But moving forward, we're just going to be using Postgres. And so all your data won't be in the Postgres database until you add it. So just keep that in mind. So head back over here. I click that thing. This is the screen that comes up, and you can see it's already deployed. It took less than a minute. It's up and running. Here it is. Now, what we want is, let's see, come over here to variables, and there's a whole list of things for variables. And these are the things we need to get all this stuff, right? So let's put some quotation marks, because we definitely want quotation marks. Okay, so first, name. So come over here and come through here, and let's see. Where do we find name? Data, database, host, password, port, PG user maybe? No. PG data? Nope. PG database, right? This is the name. And ours is named Railway. Now, you can come over here and change the name of this if you want. I don't know why you would want to. Let's go ahead and copy this. Head back over here and just post that and paste that in. Next, we need the user. That's going to be PG user, which is just Postgres. So we'll copy that. Come back over here, paste that in. Next, we need the password. And you can just paste in your password, but you probably don't want to, because I haven't talked about it, but I've been saving all this code up to GitHub. And if you do that, if you push it up to GitHub and your GitHub repository is private, you're fine. But if it's public, like mine is, this password will be shown to the world. So we don't want that. So we're going to set up environmental variables in just a second. But in the meantime, you can click this PG password one. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to show you mine. And you would paste that in here if you don't want to use environmental variables. You do, so just hold off on that. Okay, next we have host. So let's come down here and let's see. It's not private host, it's PG host. There it is. And so we'll copy that. There we go. And finally, we have the port. That's this PG port. And so we can copy that and do that. So, okay, we're good to go there. We need to set up this password as an environmental variable. So I'm going to use something called Python-dotenv, short for .environment. And we need to add this to our terminal. So Control-C to break out of here. And that's just pip install Python-dotenv. And that should do that. Run our server again. Now we need to import that up here. So make sure you also have import OS. I think we did that much earlier, but you have to import OS. So make sure that's there. Now we also want to, from .env, we want to import load.env. And then down here, let's load our environmental variables. And to do that, we just call load underscore dot.env, like that. So save that. That will load this. Now we need a .env file in order to save our environmental variables. So I'm going to head back over to the terminal again. We're getting errors here. No password is supplied, right? We haven't done that yet, so that's normal. Let's go. So I'm in my ecom/ecom directory. I want to just touch .env, and that will create an environmental variable. I also, while I'm at it, want to touch gitignore because we want this environmental file to not get pushed up to GitHub. So we'll add that to our .gitignore. In fact, let's just do that right now. Come back here, project, refresh folders. There they are. And here in my gitignore file, I'm just going to type .env and save that. That will then tell GitHub to ignore this .env file that we have right there. Okay, so now let's open up our .env file and let's create any sort of variable that we want. I'm going to call this db_password_yo. db password yo. Now equal to sign. Now you're going to be tempted to put your password in like this, right? Don't do that. What you want to do is not use quotation marks and just paste in whatever that password is from Railway, just like that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and paste in my password so you guys can't see it. But after I do that, you'll just save and close this file and you'll be good to go. So again, this PG password, click here. I'm not going to do it, but this is what you'll do. You'll copy it. This is the password. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here and do that. Okay, so I saved it into my .env file and then I closed it. So now we can come down here and instead of quotation marks, we can call that variable we just created in our .env file that has our password. And to do that, we call os.environ.get, and then we want to pass in whatever variable we just created. And we call that db_password_yo, right? So there we go. So go ahead and save that. Let's come back over here and run our server again. And yeah, we're not getting any errors, so that's good. So if we come back to our actual site and hit reloads, probably isn't going to work. So this is database stuff, right? And we've created this new database. In fact, if we head over to Railway and click on data, we've got our database set up, but there's no tables, right? Our database has all kinds of stuff in it. We've got models, we've got tables, we've got all kinds of stuff. So we need to recreate all those things and push them up. So we need to do that from the terminal, and we do that by Control-C, breaking out of here. And all we have to do is Python manage.py migrate, just like we would any other migration. The migrations have already been created. We're just now re-pushing them up into our new Postgres database. And you can see it's kind of going slow because it's doing it online. It's pushing these things up online. So, okay, done. So let's run our server again. Now, if we come back over here, boom, I didn't even have to hit reload. All these tables popped up, right? So we've got our Django admin stuff, our authenticated users. And you'll notice if we click on this, we don't have any authenticated users. So we have to create a new super user, a new admin user. We haven't done that yet. So we could do that. We also have our orders, our customers, our products, our profiles, our shipping stuff, our store categories, payment orders, our sessions. All of the things that we had in our app have now been created in this table. So that's fine, but we hit this, nothing pops up because, again, we haven't added all those things to the database, like our images and our products and all that stuff. But, well, we can't even create an admin. We can't even log in as admin to add all that stuff yet. We have to create a new super user. So let's head back over to the terminal, Control-C, break out of this thing again. And again, I'm going to go win pty. We're going to create a new super user in the exact same way we did at the very beginning of this. And I'm using the win pty command because I'm on a Windows computer and this is the Git Bash terminal, and you have to do that. If you're on any other terminal, don't type win pty, just type your regular Python manage.py, and it's create super user. Username, we want that to be admin, email address, whatever. Password added in, type it again. Okay, super user created successfully. Let's run our server and log in and see what we got here. So let's go to the admin section. Now, from now on, this is logging in to the admin section in the cloud on Railway. It says now when we go to auth user, it says this table is empty. Let's hit reload. Boom, we now have an admin user because we just created that super user. There it is, john@codemy.com. There we go. So, okay, that worked. Pop that back over. All right, so what do we have here? Let's take a look. We have our users. We only have one, admin. Let's see. We have our orders. We don't have any because all that stuff didn't get deleted, just didn't get transferred over. But if we look at our products, we have none of those. We also don't have any categories. You may not remember, but we have 2 categories. Let me just create those real quick. Let's see. One of them was called programming books. So let's save and add another. The other one we called, I want to say marketing books. So we'll save that. Okay, so now we have those 2 categories. Now we need to come back over here into our products and re-add all of our products. So I'll do a couple of these just so you can see. I've got them written down from our old database. The price for our Python programming was $19.99. It was in programming books. The description, let me just copy and paste. Browse, let's say, what did I call this? Desktop, ecom product. So here's all of our product images. I just saved those from our old database. So let's do that. It was not on sale. If I save it, there it is again. And there's the image. Okay. So I don't think that's going to show up. Let's just see. Oh, yep, boom, it already showed up. See? Just that easy. We can view the product. And all of this stuff is in the Postgres database up online. Very, very cool. So I'll just come through here and add these in. Maybe I'll pause this while I add all these products back in. It'll probably just take a couple of minutes. So let me just do that. I'll do one more before I pause it. $9.98. It was in programming books. And that was number 2. Save and add another. Okay, there we go. And if you want to confirm this, you can come over to, let's see, shipping category, customer order, product, store products. And boom, now we have these 2 items in there. It's totally up online. Very, very cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of our products in here. It'll take a couple minutes. I'll just pause it. We'll pick it up after I finish that. Okay, so I went through and added all 8 of our products. Now if we come back over here and reload our page, we see they're all listed and we are good to go. Now we can just spot check this to make sure things are working. If I add this to the cart, there we have it. If I click on this, I can still check out. All right. I don't know, it looks like it works fine and we're good to go. So one more thing I'll mention, we've got this set up as an environmental variable. We're going to change this around when we add our entire app on Railway because we won't need to use a local environmental variable anymore. Railway has their own variables that you can create and just access them in your app like that. So we'll do that. It's a little bit easier, but as long as you're still using it locally, you're going to want to use that .env file. And just remember to add it to your gitignore so that when you push your code up to GitHub, that password isn't there anymore or isn't pushed up to your GitHub repository so other people can't see it. Like I said, it's not a big deal because once we add this to Railway, our entire app, we're going to change that anyway. You might also want to do the same thing for our secret key because, I don't know, people don't like to have that public, whatever. Yeah, that's all there is to it. So now we have got Postgres up and running. It is a professional database, very powerful, costs just pennies right now at the basic level of this app we're using, Railway app. And I highly recommend Railway app. I've been using them for things here and there for a little while now, and they have not disappointed me yet. Super easy to use. I mean, you just saw, we just provisioned and set up a Postgres database. If you were doing that in AWS, it would have taken a couple of hours at least, and you would have had all kinds of problems. And then later on, it would have been harder to maintain it. You would have to do patches for security and all kinds. It's just a hassle. What did it take? 3 minutes for us to do this? Like, piece of cake and very cool. Now, one more thing I should mention, we have an admin user, but you might want to come back in here and let's see, not log in, but register another user. Because remember, we had a couple of test users. If you want to do that, you can. Otherwise, just keep using the admin. That's fine as well. At this point of the game, it really doesn't matter. And we're good to go. Cart is still showing that. Very cool. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll start to reconfigure our app and push it up to Railway. That's going to be exciting. And if you're curious, the reason why we're doing this before we set up our payment processing is because when you set up payment processing, you can do it with a local host development environment. It's just a little more complicated. It's easier to set up payment processing if your website is actually online first. So I just figured make it a little easier, and we'd do that first. Then after that, we'll probably look at payment processing. I know you guys have been very anxious for that. I get messages every single day. When are we going to do the payment processing? Pretty soon here. We'll do a couple of videos to knock out getting this thing up online, the website itself, not just the database. And after that, we'll do that, and it should be a lot of fun. So that's all for this video. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and thanks for watching.